3 in the morning. The relationship has been over for months. The door is locked, the number is blocked, and on paper you are out. But internally, the simulation is still running. You are lying in the dark, arguing with a ghost, hearing their voice run commentary on your choices, your work, your worth. You are replaying conversations you already won, fighting in a war that technically ended. You escaped the prison, but you are still wearing the tracking anklet. The signal is still broadcasting. And the deepest problem is not the noise itself. It is that you can no longer tell whose frequency you are running on. I am Silas, and what we are doing today is a full system audit. You are not broken, you are not too sensitive, and you are not weak. You are running residual malware, and today we are going to identify it, isolate it, and begin the process of restoring your cognitive sovereignty. Here is the first thing the data shows. A toxic person does not simply want your time. That is the surface read. The deeper read is this: they want to become your internal administrator. They want root access. From the earliest phase of the relationship, whether you recognized it or not, they were running a reconnaissance operation. Every vulnerability you disclosed, every fear you surfaced at 2 in the morning, every dream you laid out over coffee, that was not intimacy to them. That was data collection. They were building a profile, cataloging your soft spots, your triggers, your deepest needs. So that information could be converted into leverage when the time came. What they installed in place of your original self-worth was not love. It was a low-resolution copy of you, filtered through their narrative. A version of you that was always slightly miscalibrated, always too much or not enough, always requiring their correction to function. The neuroscience here is precise. Your prefrontal cortex, the internal strategist responsible for modeling reality, relies on consistent environmental feedback to maintain an accurate baseline. When that feedback is systematically distorted over months or years, the prefrontal cortex does not flag the distortion. It incorporates it. You stop questioning the voice because your brain has begun running it as native code. That is not weakness. That is your system doing exactly what it was designed to do. It adapted to a wicked environment. The problem is the environment changed, and the adaptation never received the update. That is the ghost in the machine. When they left, they did not take their programming with them. They left behind a set of automated mental loops, legacy files running in the background of your operating system. These files were engineered to keep you small, keep you doubting, keep you orbiting their gravity from a distance. Recovery is not about moving on. That phrase is functionally useless. Recovery is about decompiling their code, locating every fragment embedded in your internal architecture, and systematically reclaiming the keys to your own system. The first layer of that process is the voice audit. Every self-critical thought you are currently generating is a data packet. The only question worth asking about each one is this: whose voice is this, really? Because if it uses their phrasing, their specific criticisms, their particular register of contempt, then that thought is not yours. It is a legacy file. It is malware wearing your internal monologue as a disguise. Your amygdala, the threat detection architecture of the brain, was conditioned during the relationship to flag your own authentic impulses as dangerous signals. Your genuine confidence got tagged as arrogance. Your real opinions got tagged as stupidity. Your joy got tagged as naivety. And now, even in their absence, the radar is misfiring, sending false threat signals every time you move toward being yourself. The fix is not to silence the voice. The fix is to label it accurately. When the thought arrives, you do not argue with it, and you do not attempt to disprove it. You observe it and you say, "That is not my data. That is a corrupted file," and you do not run corrupted files. You quarantine them. You name them as foreign code. Over time, the labeling process interrupts the automation. The loop loses its operational power the moment you stop processing it as truth and begin treating it as noise. The second layer is quieter, but the damage runs just as deep. Toxic people do not only target your self-perception, they go after your energy sources. The specific activities that generate high-fidelity signal in your nervous system. They do this because genuine joy produces independence, and a person who is lit up by their own life is very difficult to control. So they tag your passions with shame, they mock the guitar. They dismiss the writing. They make the painting feel childish, the reading feel pretentious, the ambition feel delusional. And gradually, without a clear moment you can point to, you begin doing less of the things that constituted you. The dopamine pathways associated with those activities get linked to social threat. Your brain, which is always running an optimization protocol for safety, begins routing around them. You stop picking up the guitar, not because you lost interest, but because somewhere in your nervous system, that action got wired to the sensation of being ridiculed. Asset recovery means going back for what they tagged. It means picking up the guitar when it feels gray and hollow. It means opening the notebook when the words feel flat. The shame tag does not dissolve the moment you re-engage. It fades through repeated exposure without the threat response. Every time you do the thing they mocked and nothing bad happens, your amygdala updates its threat map. The association weakens. The joy returns to its original resolution. This is not metaphor. This is memory reconsolidation, operating exactly as the literature describes it. You are rewriting the file by running a new experience over the old one. But the action has to happen. Running the simulation in your head does not rewrite the pathway. Only the action does. The third layer is the deepest, and it is about where you have placed your validation hardware. For most people who have come through a toxic relationship, the locus of control has been externalized. There is a background process running constantly that asks, what would they think of this? Would this earn their approval? Would this prove them wrong? And here is the architectural problem with that. Even when the motivation is defiance, you are still using them as the reference point. You are still running their process with administrator privileges inside your own system. Sovereignty means your internal validator holds the only root access. It means the transition from an external locus, where their opinion functions as the benchmark, to a sovereign locus, where your own data is the only metric with authority. This is not arrogance. This is correct architecture. You are the only hardware in the room with full access to your own experience, your own history, your own signal. No external node gets to determine whether that signal is valid. You set the permissions, you install the firewall, and you revoke access to anyone who was never authorized to hold it. Here is the daily protocol for clearing the cache, because the theory without the practice is just noise. Every time you feel a spike of shame, run the source audit immediately. Ask whose voice this belongs to. If it is not yours, it is a data error. Do not process it as truth. Label it and let it pass. Implement the no-ping protocol without exception. Every time you check their social media, every time you run a scan on their life, you are inviting a fresh tracking cookie into your system and reopening a port that needs to stay closed. The curiosity reads as harmless. It is not. Each check reactivates the neural pathway associated with them and refreshes the malware's operational presence. Cut the feed, stay clean. And every day, spend at least 10 minutes running the 4K future simulation. Close your eyes and render a version of your life in which they were never a variable. Not a version where you defeated them, not a version where they finally understood what they lost. A version where they simply did not exist in the data set. What does your confidence look like in that version? What are you building? Who are you becoming inside your own laboratory of the self? The brain does not draw a clean boundary between a vividly rendered future and a real one. Every time you run that simulation with precision and consistency, you are laying down new neural architecture, building a version of yourself that was never exposed to their code. The person who tried to reduce you was never operating at a resolution high enough to process your complexity. They encountered a signal they could not decode and called it a flaw. They hit depth they could not navigate and called it a problem. That is a hardware limitation on their end. It was never a defect in your data. The system is coming back online. The sovereignty is yours to reclaim. If you are currently in the process of clearing the malware and restoring your operating system, drop a floppy disk and a diamond in the comments, and let the other outliers know the signal is returning to full strength. Stay rare, Silas out.